Folk Valley is LARP in dark web. The Folk Valley man looks like a pleb. If I ever encounter the Folk Valley leader, I will sell him off to a Jewish horse breeder. Folk Valley repairs replace my drain. After that the plumber left my ass in pain. Someday if I move out of Folk Valley, I will have to disguise by wearing a belly. Folk Valley, Folk Valley, Folk Valley, Folk, 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 Folk Valley, Folk Valley, Folk Valley, Folk, 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 Folk. The Folk Valley Diner is very fancy. It's run by the one and only Folk and Ramsey. The only thing that makes Folk Valley better is that the Jews cannot control the weather. I gave birth to a Folk Valley child, so I left him with the monkeys in the wild. I'm getting muscles, so at Folk Gym I'm tweaking. It seems when I lift, then my asshole starts leaking. Folk Valley, Folk Valley, Folk Valley, Folk, 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 Folk Valley, Folk Valley, Folk Valley, Folk, 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 Folk.
Jerry, do you agree that the use of puppets makes you seem dumb and crazy?
I don't think crazy is a responsible word to use.
It is now. This is crazy.
I've never actually had an adult bring in puppets, but I'm actually trained in play therapy. So with a lot of kids, people that are younger, we use objects, and that's why actually I use TV shows to be able to deal with different situations in psychology. It is easier often to see issues that might be within ourselves through a secondary character. I don't even think it's crazy. If he feels more comfortable to be able to speak through a puppet, is it unusual? Absolutely. But why? I'm just more curious than anything else. Why does that make it easier? Is
At best, forgetting is simply inconvenient. At its worst, it can destroy a life, multiple lives.
Does the CIA listen through our phones and laptop cameras? Yes. I hate to say it. They can take over your smart television and turn the speaker into a microphone so that they can listen to what's being said in the room even when the TV is turned off. Hello, I'm John Kiriakou. I'm a former CIA counterterrorism officer and former senior investigator for the U.S. Senate Committee on Foreign Relations, and I'm here today to answer questions from the Honesty Box. The first one is, what did the CIA actually do? There are several answers to that question. What the CIA is supposed to do, what it is legally tasked with doing, is very simply to recruit spies, to steal secrets, and then to analyze those secrets to give the president and other senior policymakers the best information with which they can make policy. Now, in real life, it's not that simple. The CIA does whatever the president tells it to do. That could be to overthrow foreign governments. It could be to implement covert action programs, to influence the foreign media, to even kill people. It just depends on who the president is and what policy he wants to implement. What skills make a good agent? You might be surprised by the answer, actually. The CIA, when it recruits spies, when it recruits operations officers, doesn't necessarily look for the big, buff guy who works out, every day or 6 days a week. They look for people who have sociopathic tendencies, not sociopaths. Sociopaths are impossible to control because they have no conscience. They blow right through a polygraph exam, but they won't take orders. People who have sociopathic tendencies do react to a polygraph. They do experience regret or remorse. They will respond to directives and orders. I'll give you an example. When I first was recruited by the CIA, I was asked in a group of new hires what we would do if we got a cable from CIA headquarters ordering us to collect information on the Indonesian economy. You recruit the Indonesian economic secretary, you make him your best friend, you spend money on him, your wives become friends, you vacation together, but you learn that he is just not recruitable. So what do? Well, one of my colleagues said, you double down, work the case another 6 months, and hope for the best. A second colleague said, maybe you work it through your wives, maybe your wife can convince his wife to give you the information. I raised my hand and I said, you break into the Indonesian embassy and you steal it. And the instructor said, that's exactly what you do. That's a sociopathic tendency. What's the coolest piece of spy tech you ever got to use? There's kind of a dirty little secret about spy tech, and it is that 95% of it is purchased from Amazon.com. Seriously. Because it is cheaper and it is quicker just to go online and buy it and then use it operationally than it is to invent it from scratch. The coolest piece of spy tech that I ever used was, it was a leather briefcase. I just went into the local marketplace in Pakistan and bought it. I think it cost the equivalent of like $10. And over the course of 3 days, one of our technical officers pulled the threads out of it, installed a wire all the way around the briefcase, which could act as a listening device, and then packed the area around the wire with these little teeny tiny batteries that I had never seen before, and then he sewed the whole thing closed again. So I walked into a meeting with my little briefcase. The bad guy took the briefcase from me, opened it up, looked through it. It didn't have anything in it because it was all sewn into the lining, and we sat there and had the meeting while my colleagues half a mile away were able to listen to the entire thing. It was very cool. Does the CIA listen through our phones and laptop cameras? Yes. I hate to say it. There was a dramatic leak in 2017 that the CIA came to call the Vault 7 disclosures. Gigabytes worth of documents leaked by a CIA technology engineer. What he told us was that the CIA can intercept anything from anyone, number one. Number two, they can remotely take control of your car through the car's embedded computer. To do what? To make you drive off a bridge, into a tree, to make you kill yourself and make it look like an accident. They can take over your smart television and turn the speaker into a microphone so that they can listen to what's being said in the room even when the TV is turned off. God knows what else that they can do that hasn't been leaked. Are hitmen real? Yes. At the National Security Council, there is a committee that meets every Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock to draw up something called the kill list. They sit around a table and they make a list of all the people that they want to kill that week. And then they take it back to the CIA, which has a dedicated unit. I won't tell you the name, but it has a dedicated unit that takes receipt of the list. They say, okay, number one. They drive to the airport, they get on the plane, they go out to that country, they kill the person, they come back, and then they go to number two on the list. That happens every single week. Now, we can have a conversation about whether that's right or whether it's wrong. It's certainly immoral. It's illegal, but it's been tasked by the president. At the same time, they will tell you there hasn't been another 9/11, has there? Maybe it's because we're out there killing people.
What kind of people would be on that list?
Oh, the most dangerous terrorists in the world. Or at least people that the CIA deems to be the most dangerous terrorists in the world. How does the CIA recruit spies in foreign countries? That cuts right to the very heart of what the CIA is. The CIA trains its officers in something called the asset acquisition cycle. It has 4 steps: spot, assess, develop, recruit. So let's say you're a brand new CIA officer overseas. You get out there and mingle and go to diplomatic cocktail parties or go anywhere where there might be a viable target for you. You spot the target, you go up. Hi, how are you? I'm the new officer at the American Embassy. I'm covering political affairs or economic affairs or trade or whatever it is you're doing. You exchange business cards. That's spotting. Assessing is I say, so what do you do for a living? If you tell me that you do something that I'm operationally interested in, that's my assessment of you. Then I develop you. That's actually the fun part. That is us going to lunch and going to dinner, and I spend money on you because I have literally an unlimited budget to do so. And maybe we go on vacation together, and our wives are friends, and you mention offhandedly that you like to go fishing, let's say. So I charter a boat for $4,000 and I take you deep sea fishing because you could never afford to do it on your own. And then we become best friends. And because we're best friends, I say to you, hey, would you do me a favor? Yeah, I'm sorry to ask, but you know, the Russians have this new tank, and I know that you guys have access to the plans, and I would really appreciate it if you could just make me a copy of those plans. I know that sounds kind of funny, but it would help me a lot. So, hey, thanks, I appreciate it. Give me I'll pick them up tonight. And then maybe I start giving you a little bit of money. And then finally, when it comes to the recruitment, I say, I haven't been totally honest with you. I'm actually a CIA officer, undercover. Are you okay with that? You're a great guy, and you're my best friend, and how about if I give you $5,000 a month, and you just answer my questions, right? That's cool, right? And you undoubtedly will say yes, and the rest is history.
Got to be a good actor to do that. Pull that off. Yeah.
And a sensitive one. Do you ever fear for your life? Not now, but over the course of my career, I did several times. And I'll give you one example. There were 2 active assassination attempts against me. In one, I just got lucky. And unfortunately, my next door neighbor was killed instead. He was the British defense attaché in Athens, Brigadier General Stephen Saunders. I think about it every single day. In another, an enemy country sent one of its officers and a double agent to kill me, but we had advance warning that it was going to happen, and we were able to well, we were able to neutralize the threat, as they say in the movies. But there was another experience that I had that troubled me deeply. I was serving in Pakistan at the time, and I was staying in a small guest house because it was safer than a big hotel. Sure enough, the big hotel was blown up and 45 people were killed while I was living there. But I left my guest house at a different time, like I did every day, and took a different route, like I did every day, to go to work. And I noticed that a man on a motorcycle wearing a red helmet was trying very hard to stay in my blind spot. I worked 12, 14 hours, whatever it was that day, and I left, and it was dark, and sure enough, there he was again. There's a definition of surveillance. It's multiple sightings at time and distance. So I've seen him multiple times at different times of the day and at different places. I'm definitely under surveillance. I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, got in the car, drove a block, there he was again. So when I got to the office, I said to the security officer, I am under surveillance. I'm 100% sure that I'm under surveillance. He said, well, let's wait until the chief comes in. When the chief finally came in, I told him the story, and he said, well, you know what you have to do. I said, I know. I'm gonna kill him if I see him this afternoon. I was worried about it all day, and all my coworkers came up to me that day to slap me on the back and say, don't worry, we're all gonna be out there, we're gonna have a whole security team. I said, I know, but I never killed anybody before, and I'm so worried that he's gonna kill me before I get a clear shot at him. That afternoon, I had a meeting at a safe house that we shared with the local service. And on my way out at the end of the meeting, and I don't know why I did this, but I turned around and I said, General, are you following me? And he said, no, why? And I said, because I'm under surveillance, and if I see this guy again, I'm gonna kill him. And I never saw him again. I learned later that several of their officers were sitting around and saying, you know, that new American guy, he's such a nice guy. Nobody's that nice. I wonder if he's being nice just to try to make us drop our guard. And they decided to put the worst surveillance officer in their entire intelligence service on me. And if I hadn't said something that afternoon, he would be in the ground today. Does Trump have the UK and Europe's back? No, he doesn't. When we hear from journalists or political figures that Donald Trump doesn't like the Europeans, he doesn't like NATO, he doesn't like the European Union, we should take the man at his word. I don't think he does have Europe's back, or even the UK's back. When he says America first, he means America first, whatever that means. He has an idea in his own mind, but I don't think he cares one whit about Europe. Which film or TV series portrays spy work the most accurately? Great question. I will tell you that at the CIA, we watch every single spy movie and spy series. All of us do. I'm proud to say that I have been the script advisor on The Bourne Ultimatum, on Kill the Messenger, on True Lies, and on Burn Notice. We love this kind of thing. Most of them have nothing whatsoever to do with the reality of the CIA, except a couple. In terms of TV, Homeland. Wow, they got it right. The only thing that they got wrong was if you go crazy, they send you to the hospital until you're not crazy anymore. In movies, there was a movie that came out in 2004 called The Recruit. The first half of the movie, where the lead character is going through training, 100% accurate, except for one minor difference. They didn't beat us in training. Everything else that he went through, whew, we went through it in spades. Most other movies, stinkers. And listen, just as a general rule, if somebody calls the CIA the company, turn it off. Is social media the biggest intelligence gathering tool today? It is absolutely one of them, yes. You know, I was always amazed when I was at the CIA at how targets, legitimate intelligence targets, would literally put their entire lives on LinkedIn and Facebook. Incredible. You don't even have to do any research. They lay it all out right there on the screen for you. So the answer is yes. If you value your privacy, if you don't want to pop up on the radar, you have to stay away from social media. What was 9/11's impact on the world? You know, I was in the CIA's headquarters on the morning of 9/11. Well, we knew we were at war. And one of the first thoughts that I had that morning was, does Osama bin Laden have any idea what he's done? Does he have any idea how many people are going to die? We all knew what the American response was going to be. It was going to be merciless. The question is, what was 9/11's impact on the world? It was dramatic and lasting. We're almost 24 years after the 9/11 attacks, and we still can't go through airports with our shoes on. Untold trillions of dollars have been spent on counterterrorism and defense, and that is probably never going to change. Why are there so many wars in 2025? Well, do you want my real answer or do you want my diplomatic answer? My real answer is the U.S. has a defense budget that is bigger than the next 8 largest countries combined. After 9/11, the U.S. entered into something like a permanent wartime economy, where if we didn't have a war to fight and to finance, we would actually go into recession. Now, we see ourselves as the world's peacekeepers. In many cases, we're not. We tend to be places where we're not wanted or welcome, and we end up forgetting to leave. There's an old joke inside the CIA about Iran. Like, why would Iran put its country right in the middle of all of our military bases? There you have it. Why are there so many wars? It's because the U.S. has an activist foreign policy, and sometimes we make friends on the wrong side of issues. Can the CIA make someone disappear without a trace? You bet they can, and they do all the time. In the immediate aftermath of the 9/11 attacks, the CIA created, for example, an archipelago of secret prisons, and they would just disappear people. We would capture people in Al-Qaeda safe houses, for example, let's say in Pakistan or Afghanistan, and we would ship them off to these secret prisons. And when I say secret prisons, I mean in many cases they were so secret that even the presidents and prime ministers of the countries where the prisons were based didn't know that there were secret CIA prisons in their countries. So the CIA can make people disappear in that respect. They can kill people and just bury them, in some crazy foreign land and nobody would ever know. But if you're a CIA officer, or better yet, let's say you're a KGB officer and you want to defect, the CIA will give you a completely new identity, more money than you can ever count, and you and your family can live happily ever after, under the name John Smith, and nobody would be the wiser. How does the USA track terrorist threats? They use something called the terrorist matrix. It's also called all-source intelligence. Believe it or not, members of terrorist groups actually give press interviews in which they telegraph what they're going to do in their next attack. That's one way, the media. Electronic surveillance. It could be intercepting cell phones, intercepting emails, intercepting encoded messages, even intercepting messages from game platforms. We have satellites that track these things. We have spies providing what's called HUMINT, short for human intelligence. So you use literally every source at your dispense and put this matrix together to try to disrupt that next attack. Can you be a spy and have a moral compass? What a great question that is. I'm going to say yes because I had a moral compass.